We're in Las Vegas for Autodesk University 2009. Hello again, I'm Dave Graveline, host of Into Tomorrow. Welcome to AU Virtual. Our guest in this segment, delighted to have with us the manager for the Sustainable Design Program with Autodesk, Don Danby. Don, how are you?
I'm great. Good to see you.
Glad to have you with us. We chatted during the radio broadcast from Autodesk Gallery in San Francisco, learned a whole lot about what your group is involved with, but if you would share with others that are tuned in now what you guys are doing these days.
Well, the Sustainability Initiative at Autodesk is addressing environmental impact throughout all of the different parts of Autodesk. So we have a whole initiative really looking at Autodesk as an organization and our own climate impact, but my focus has been primarily on looking at our products because that's really where we can have, in many ways, the most significant impact is by helping our customers make better decisions. So as they're designing buildings, as automotive, products, cities, anything, they're able to start to estimate what the environmental impact of their decisions might be.
Well, along those lines, then, what are some of the latest trends in sustainability? Let's talk first about building design, because that seems to be, I guess, the biggest culprit if we don't do it right.
That's really true. I mean, buildings are responsible for a very significant amount of energy and emissions worldwide.
And I find that most people are very surprised by that. Is that, wait, buildings? No, it's got to be my car. No.
Yep.
Buildings. So sometimes
Exactly.
it's good to take a step back and kind of share with us, why is it that buildings are the number one culprit?
They use a huge amount of energy. I mean, we're plugging things in, we're lighting, we're heating, we're cooling. We're doing all the kinds of things that to a building, filling it with all kinds of systems to keep ourselves comfortable during the day. And it takes a huge amount of energy if we don't do it right. And so there is a huge opportunity to really start to decrease the amount of energy that we need, as well as the emissions, by starting to design buildings to have better performance, to use less energy, to use less water.
So design plays such an important role then, well before you start any construction.
Absolutely. I mean, so many of the decisions are made around the performance of the building right at the beginning. We have a lot of our customers who use Revit architecture and our building information modeling software, and then are doing building analysis using ecotech analysis. Start to give them feedback on a building model. So they design a building, and all of a sudden they're able to see what the implications of that building design will be, even at a very early stage. You start to make those kinds of decisions in the first few minutes or few hours of the design process.
And back then to some of the latest trends, especially for buildings. What are designers getting pumped about more these days than before?
I think we're definitely talking about sustainability with much more specificity right now, which is really interesting. I mean, there's lots of different kinds of things around a building design that cause some kind of impact, whether it's water use, toxicity, but particularly there's been a really significant focus on energy use and performance. And so targeting even more, ever more high performance in buildings. So more efficient buildings that use even less energy. So passive buildings, as an example, how do you use the systems that are in a place? So if I've got a building and I've got it here in Las Vegas, how can I design taking into account this the ecology here, the air, the water, the kinds of systems that are limiting my design in this place?
You mentioned earlier, too, that everything has impact. So can you give us a couple of examples of how Autodesk and the various software and programs and people are helping your clients deal with things like that?
Well, I mean, when I say everything has impact, I'm just referring to just every design decision or even consumer decision that we make has the immediate impact. If I drink a bottle of water, I'm also buying the bottle itself and all the plastic that went into the bottle and all the transportation that went into that. And the same goes for if I buy a house. I'm not only looking at the house and the piece of land that it's on, but all those materials had to come from somewhere. And so to the extent that we can, as a building designer, start to say, okay, well, here's the building and where are the materials coming from? Where is the energy going to come from? And being able to estimate that in the building design. That's really kind of what we're talking about, is how do we give designers and engineers the capacity to understand not just the immediate picture, but also the larger environmental impacts of the decisions they're making.
And I guess that goes to sort of my next question, talking about the immediate picture, of course. There's always incentives for building designers and building owners to do various things. The first one, of course, is just energy savings right out of the box, but there are other incentives when they design properly, I'm sure.
It's true. I mean, a lot of the incentives that are more regulatory or regional kind of depend on what region or what part of the world you're in. But there's definitely more and more financial incentives coming from governments to encourage people to design for better building performance. Absolutely. But I think that one thing that a lot of building owners and design teams don't necessarily realize yet is that even without a lot of those kinds of incentives and certifications that are available, there's still the opportunity to just save money, not only during the building the creation, but really during the operation of that building over time. Tremendous opportunity for money saving, and also in the retrofit space. I mean, that's one of the big trends that we're seeing is not just building buildings from scratch, but how can we deal with the millions of buildings we have around the world right now and improve them, design using them as essentially raw materials for better performing buildings.
And design, of course, again, plays an important role in the whole remodeling end of things. Yes, you can do it better. Here's how.
Exactly.
Very cool. And I'm wondering what keeps you up at night these days then, with so many things involving sustainability and so many ideas. On the one hand, what has you a bit concerned more than others?
I do believe that there's still a need to move faster on a lot of things. I mean, we have a lot of designers around the world, engineers around the world who are trying to change their practice, but sometimes it's more than that. I mean, we need to start seeing better incentives, for instance. Yeah. So that the extent to which we can really start to speed things up, I will be able to sleep better.
Gotcha. And sometimes the incentives maybe are somewhat negative in terms of just laws. You know, now you will do this or you have to do that, versus other things that, you know what, we're going to do this because it's going to help in various ways. But if that's what it takes, sometimes I guess we have to accept that. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, I think that what we are at a really interesting moment where in many cases, the business case can be made well before the government has to step in, if we are smart about what we're doing.
Yes. Oh, it's always much more effective, I think, in any business, in any scenario, is to make the changes before they're mandated. And then you show the industry's doing it themselves. Let us take care of it.
Yeah, I mean, it would certainly help to see some very strict and really, really good regulations in place, but sometimes that takes time. And in the meantime, there's lots of opportunity for a lot of designers, Autodesk customers worldwide to start making better decisions.
Well, Dawn, I love your passion. You're a lot of fun to talk with, and stop dragging our feet. You heard it from Dawn. Let's pick up the pace here. Thanks so much for joining us on AU Virtual.
Thank you so much.